Hi everyone, getting ready for another dual commentary game against my friend Anthony, or Seikster. Um, Recording from a little bit of a different room in my apartment, so that's why the video looks a little bit different. Decided to play Sicilian, and I'm actually going to play here, instead of going into an open Sicilian, I'm going to go, well first let me just say good luck to my opponent. I've played actually Seikster a number of times on chess.com. We've done a whole bunch of different dual commentary games. I'll put a couple links to them in the notes to this video. You could also find them just by looking at my channel. He also then you could jump over to his channel to find out what he thought of the same positions. Okay, so enough blabbering. I'm already down on the clock. Instead of going into an open Sicilian, or allowing an anti-Sicilian, I'm going to play what you might consider an anti-open Sicilian, right? One of the only moves here that prevents white from playing d4. One complex middle game, already out of theory, delivered. Okay, so let's see what he responds. I mean, this objectively for black is not necessarily the best move, and white can still play things to try and arrange d4. So for example, knight c3 here, then on the next move you can play d4, but this move literally prevents d4. I think it's the only move that prevents d4 from being played. Even something like c3 and then d4 you can't recapture with the c-pawn, so that actually would be inadvisable. White wants the c3 square for his knight, probably, in this position. As for my own position, I haven't developed any pieces, except for the queen. Queen's probably going to have to drop back to d8 at some point. Sort of like, it's probably going to end up being a slow, close Sicilian dragon type position. Okay, so here my idea is playing g6 and bishop g7, and putting pressure on this diagonal. Notice how normally in the dragon, instead of queen a5, if this was some sort of accelerated or hyper accelerated dragon, I would have already played knight f6. I think. Well, at any rate, the point is that here white has played knight c3 without me playing knight f6. Normally knight c3 is a response to knight f6, and this cuts out white from using this c-pawn here. Whee! C-pawn. Okay, so those are some of the little finesses behind this queen a5 move. I think this variation actually has a name. I think this is called the Mongoose Sicilian. I'm not really sure who calls it that. I think I saw a book written about it, or a pamphlet, or some PDF online you can find. Okay, so this is interesting. In fact, I think I've even had this position against Seikster before, or against Anthony, I should say, but I don't actually remember. So again, I'm just continuing with the main idea, bishop g7. Maybe I haven't had this position against him, but the idea is now, if white had played d4, I take. If you take back with the knight, you have queen c5, and it would fork the c4 bishop and the d4 knight. Okay, so now I have to think about how I'm going to develop here. I could play e6, but that leaves my dark squares kind of weak. I can't really play knight f6. I could try d6 and just say, well, you're in a dragon type position, and is this really the dragon that you want? I'm not sure. I don't think he plays the Yugoslav against the dragon, but if you have a white player that plays that way against the dragon, this is sometimes a good way to go. I could play a6. I'm going to go here with e6. I'm still preventing d4 tactically, I think. Right, d4, I take, he takes with the knight, and I play queen c5, and he's in trouble. So he can't play d4. At least if he does, he can't follow it up with knight takes. And I'm preparing knight e7, and then castles, and maybe d5. So all in all, seems like a pretty decent position for me. Maybe I should play the Sicilian more often. I am part Sicilian, so. Okay, what else could he do here? He doesn't have d5. He could play d3. Just go for a sort of quiet setup. Okay, here's an interesting idea for white. Knight b5. Target the weak dark squares in my position, right? If he plays knight b5, he's eyeing the d6 square, c7 square. I probably have to drop my queen back to b6. Okay, here, this might end in a blunder for him. Let's find out if he takes with the knight. Okay. So, this is an unusual position, to be sure, but this is, well, maybe he has something planned here that I'm not aware of, but actually, I take it back. This isn't losing, because he could play knight b5. Either knight to b5, and I can't take on c4 on account of the fact that I've played e6. So actually, this is fine. Okay. So this trick would have worked a move ago, but since I've played e6, it no longer works. Yes. Clever. Okay. Now what are my options? I could take on c3. If he takes back with the knight, I win this. If he takes back with the pawn, I win. I still don't win that, though. No, I don't. I could try d5. This looks crazy. Alright. This is a really complicated tactical mess. Let's see. d5. He will just take it with the pawn, most likely. Then maybe I can play a6. That looks like it's worth a shot. The other option would be something like bishop f8, but that just looks like an admission of failure. Or king e7 actually is an idea. It's a terrible idea, but it's an idea. d5, e takes d, a6. I like that. It looks complicated. Then maybe he plays knight e4 and says I'm going to get to d6 no matter what. I can't take here ever because I'm going to lose that. The other option I have is knight c6. And if he checks me, I just move up with the king. But that looks terrible. So this is actually reminiscent of the move I played against him in a Sicilian Taimanov in our last game together. So interesting that I walk into the same idea. Here I don't even have a good way of responding to it. I'm really thinking I have to take on c3. He's going to check me no matter what. Bishop f8 is the only way to secure that piece. Let's try that. This looks silly, right? I said, oh, I have to reject this because it's a mission that the bishop was misplaced on g7. Well, no, the bishop can go back to g7. Probably should. The idea here is just let me come back, hold this square for one more move. I'll play a6, and you'll have some problems to work out as well. Taking on c3 looked interesting, but this is the only move I think that really prevents knight d6 check, apart from me moving my king. Or me playing d5, which doesn't work in the long run. Now I'm really threatening to take that bishop. Once he moves the bishop, I can play a6. Once he moves the knight, I can play bishop g7 and say, well, I lost a lot of time, but I'm going to just pretend nothing happened. Play knight e7 and try and play d5. then, I mean, I've lost time, but after something like, let's say, bishop b3, a6, knight a3, white's also lost time, moving their pieces around in that manner. So I think that I might actually be able to get away with this. But let's see what happens. Maybe bishop e3. Oh, okay, defending the bishop that way. Doesn't want to lose time with the bishop, which makes sense. First things first, let's kick the knight. Interesting thing here. Oh, okay, that's another way of doing it. I was thinking knight a4. Okay, this is getting dicey. I do have queen to c6. Then he has knight d4. And then I have queen c7. So this might work. This looks completely ridiculous. My pawns are all on light squares. It's a terrible pawn structure. Well, not terrible actually, but it's not good for my dark squares, or my light squared bishop for that matter. Okay. Okay, so he's gonna have to move this knight. Probably knight d4 makes the most sense. Attack my queen. Now I can safely drop my queen back to c7 and just pretend that nothing bad has happened. This is a very wacky position. Calls for more cranberry juice. Okay. So I'm eyeing c4 all the time, so his queen can't do much. None of my other pieces are developed. This is a very big contrast in development between white and black. My queen is developed and my dark squares are weak. He has no weaknesses and he has both rooks connected. His king is safely put away. His queen is developed, is off the back rank. Both knights are posed nicely. Both bishops are posed nicely, and he has an advantage in space. So, if you can't, if we can't claim that white is better in this position, then I don't know. I don't understand anything about chess. In fact, I think the question here is, can black even survive? Seems more the question. Okay, let's try. Could try b4, but he'll just sack there. Actually, that would be really deadly if he sacks there. Okay, let's develop something. I really can't develop anything. Can I get castle? I'm afraid to play bishop g7 because then the d6 square is weak. The thing is, he can't get at d6. So let me try that. I don't think he can actually get at d6 that easily. Without sacrificing something. For example, if you played knight b5, he's basically forcing his way onto d6 then. Interesting position. What is he going to do? f4? f4 looks good. Just continue to steamroll me in the center. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, f5 doesn't look like it's going to be effective for him. Could try d6 just to stop e5 and also to bolster my f5 square. If I play knight e7, he plays f5. I take. He doesn't even need to take back, but if he takes back, I take, he takes, I take, he takes. I don't even have a tactic at the end of that line. So f5 myself actually almost looks like a good option. What about e5? If I play e5, He can't take it. E5 just looks terrible, though, from a pawn structure point of view. I almost have to say that I have to play something like knight e7 or f5, but f5 doesn't look good. Then he just plays e5. This is dicey. I don't have b5, b4, because b5 he just takes with the knight. Take back, he takes with the other knight, and that doesn't look good for me. He's gotten more pawns than he should have in a line like that. Huh. Tough position. Tough position. B4 definitely threatens something. I could try d6 and knight d7 to play something like either knight c5 or knight b6, which also threatens things, or bishop d7. Can I do that? Can I manage to castle queenside in this position? I don't think so. I think his lead into development is so great. White's probably winning at this point. But I mustn't talk like that. Should try and believe in myself more. Let's see. What about knight f6 with the idea of taking on e4, and then can I do that? Take on e4, takes back, and then play d5. He takes, I take. It looks crazy, but I'm really at a loss for what to do in this position, so I think I'm going to go for it. This at least looks like a somewhat active idea. Now, if he plays e5, I'm kind of goading him to playing e5, right? If he plays e5, I could drop the knight back. I'd have to drop the knight back to g8, right? Going knight h5 wouldn't work, because then he'd play g4, and my knight would basically be trapped. If I went knight d5, I'd lose the pawn. If he plays e5, I play d5. So here, if I play d5, he could just take the knight, I take the bishop. He takes the bishop, he's up a piece. So let's actually drop back. So shades of Aljokin's defense, or not even, that's even something stranger than that. Okay, now he's coming into d6. So now I have some big problems. Okay. Do I have any way out of this mess that I've gotten myself into? Can I ignore his move, knight d6, and try and challenge the knight later? I think I might have to do that. Only other option would be to play the pathetic bishop f8 again, but then the question is, am I ever really going to develop my kingside, or am I just going to shuffle back and forth between g7 and f8? I think I'd like to develop my kingside eventually. I have to start to develop some pieces. If for no other reason than to try and exchange off the pieces that he has. Okay, so clearly not king d8, because that drops the exchange. He takes on f7. So I'll play king f8 and just hope that I'm not getting destroyed here. Next up is... knight f5 doesn't even do anything. He has two different knights he can use to take on that square. So next up is what move? Do I have a move at all? Maybe my idea should be knight c6, because that's pretty much the only developing move I have left. The only move I can do past my second rank. Wow. This is like a positional crush. Glad I didn't try this over the board. Wow. It's funny too, because his move order was actually very precise, right? He castled before playing d4. He only played d4 once I played a6, which made this entire line possible. Otherwise, queen c5 would have won a piece. That sounds complicated, but could check the tape. See that it's correct. I bet he's looking at sacrifices. Yeah, probably some way. He's trying to figure out if there's some way he can break through here. So, is there? I don't know. I could take here. I wonder what his idea is. Take here, maybe knight takes. If I take here, he takes either one of these pawns, he's threatening f7 too much. So I can't allow that. I have to take one of these. I'm going to take this way so I'm still blunting his bishop. The idea now is that by pushing here, he's weakened e5. So perhaps I can play bishop takes e5. Then I can hit on d6. Then I might be able to slow his attack in its tracks. It's a lot of big ifs. Bishop f4 cuts a lot of that out. He was probably hoping for knight takes, but I'm going to hold my knight back in reserve. Okay, so... Aye. That's nasty. Threatening mate. What do I have against that? Other than this. It's my only way to stave off mate. Whew. Oh, here's a cute idea for him. Knight takes f7. King takes. And then my e6 pawn is pinned. So he could play something like queen takes f5, knight takes f5, rook takes f5. He has so many different ways to take f5, it's not even funny. In fact, he doesn't even need the e6 pawn to be pinned in order for this whole thing to work. He might even try taking on f5 immediately. So that way when I take back, then he does have an attack against f7. Ooh, this is dicey. Only thing is if he takes on f5 immediately, I'll just take on e5. Even if he takes with the rook. Rook takes f5, bishop takes e4. If he takes, then rook takes e5, I'll take on d6. Oh, actually, that wouldn't have worked. So it's a good thing that didn't happen. Okay, so now I think, therefore I think I can safely take on e5. And we'll just see what kind of checks he has up his sleeve. I think that I have enough things covered. But certainly is nerve-wracking having to defend an attack like this. Okay. I have but one move to play, because bishop g7 certainly doesn't work. I have but this move to play, and where's the mate? Am I missing the mate? Well, the only thing covering this square, which would be mate, is my knight here. Well, now he's going to take the bishop. Aye, aye, aye. I see what he's doing. Oh, man. Okay, so I didn't even see that mate. All right. Well, good game to Anthony, to Seikster. I just got completely crushed. This is liable for me to happen to me out of the opening here. So here, e6 is probably not the move. I probably have to play d6. Yeah, so I probably had to play d6 and then knight f6 and try and transpose into some sort of a dragon. He actually says he missed queen c5. Yeah, it's not an easy move to see, but turns out it didn't matter because he has this incredible attack against the Dark squares in my position. Wow, I tried to hold on, but there's really nothing that could be done. He played this attack very well. I completely missed this mate. Probably there was a better way to defend here, but if there was a better way to defend, I didn't see it. Oh, well, maybe knight f6 was probably a bridge too far, right? Inviting e5. Here, lock down my weak dark squares. You think my dark squares are weak now? Just wait until you get to play e5. All right. That was fun. Well, thanks for watching.